Dota 2 is an old game with an aging player base, and of course, that's not to say that you're necessarily old or anything like that, but even a lot of the young players have actually played the game for quite a few years. The bottom line is that a lot of people have played this game for a very long time, and as a result of this, there are certain ideas that are set in stone for people that they don't realize are actually losing them a tremendous amount of MMR. One of these misunderstood, set-in-stone concepts is the nature of farming the jungle in Dota. Most people think that supports shouldn't take farm. A lot of other people think that carries take the highest farming priority in a game. And most people also think that your jungle is the safest place to farm. And all of these people are actually right, but it depends on the phase of the game that you're in. You can think of the map of the jungle camps in Dota as having two possible colors. Green means that they're controlled by your team and therefore safe to farm, and red means that they're controlled by the enemy team and therefore unsafe to farm. At the start of the game, the map usually looks something like this. But as towers fall, outposts get captured, and the enemy team starts moving around the map will look completely different in terms of where you can and cannot farm. In fact, the map can be broken down even further to include orange jungle camps, which are camps that are contested between the two teams and are relatively dangerous. And here's where things get interesting, because this is where a lot of people lose a lot of MMR without even realizing it. Some people play heroes mechanically very well, and they do extremely well in their lane, they press their buttons correctly in teamfights, but they lose the game because they're capable of farming orange camps, but then they take green camps away from their team instead. What this does is it takes green camps away from the heroes that need to farm, but aren't quite strong enough to farm orange camps. In the early game, this is usually going to be the carry that needs the green camps, and in the mid to late game, it's usually the supports that need the green camps. So if you're a carry in the late game and you're taking easy camps to farm, you might be losing a lot of games because of that. If you're a support and you're in the early game and you're taking away green camps, you might be losing games and your carry might look like shit, but it's actually you. On the flip side, some heroes by their nature are only strong enough to farm green camps at a certain point in the game, and they try to farm orange camps. So then people feed on heroes that just shouldn't be farming those camps altogether, they get killed a lot, and they lose a lot of MMR. So the basic conclusion of this concept is to try to figure out roughly what camps on the map are red, which are orange, and which are green, and then farm the most dangerous ones possible that you can. It's important to note that I said try to figure out roughly what camps are the different colors, because I can see a lot of people possibly being overwhelmed by the complexity of figuring out exactly what camps you can and can't farm. But it's actually a lot easier than you might think, simply because the creeps respawn so quickly that in most games you don't need to know exactly what camps are safe and what camps are dangerous. You only need to figure out a few of them, go to the good ones, ignore the bad ones. To extend this concept even further, as the enemy team moves around the map, you can identify what camps are currently orange and about to become red, and if you can farm those just before the enemy team moves into an area, then you're taking green camps away from them, which of course is going to be quite efficient because the enemy team's going to have less to farm, and then you're going to be opening up a bunch of green camps for your team to farm as well, and orange camps. So this is going to be super efficient. This is basically the only safe way that you can farm red camps in Dota. Take a look at this replay where we have mid-1 playing Juggernaut, and he chooses to farm orange camps instead of green camps or, of course, red camps. Now, in order to facilitate himself farming these particular orange camps, first he needs to push out the wave. This is a big reason why pushing creep waves is so important. Yes, it gets you just about the same amount of farm in terms of the gold that the creeps drop, but it secures you access to orange camps so your team can take the green camps. So he spins the wave, walks over to this easy camp, which is on the enemy side, and now if he didn't push the creep wave, there's absolutely no way he would have access to this. You can even see that the enemy Sand King is chilling in the area, and if mid-1 wasn't here taking this farm, then Sand King would be taking it away from him. And because Sand King is there, there's a puck running at him. He looks to farm backwards away from the enemy team, so he might try to take that hard camp if there wasn't a puck there, but there's no easy camp now that the puck can farm, and he heads back to his own jungle where he can take the green camps. And of course, this is perfectly okay because there are only a small number of orange camps in the game, and there are a lot more green camps. So basically, the rule of thumb is farm orange camps first, then farm backwards when the enemy team comes to contest you, and then farm the green camps. Moreover, when people feel like they can't farm in the game, It's usually not because there's no farm on the map. It's generally because there are red camps that are blocking off the available green camps, and all you need to do is figure out how to get to the green camps rather than sit in your base. This is the reason why a lot of the time in Dota it feels like you're trapped inside your base or you're trapped in a certain jungle in Dota. It's not because the enemy team is actually consuming the entire map, they're just blocking you from the available green camps with red camps by putting their heroes in an area. There are a couple of solutions to this particular problem of feeling like you're trapped somewhere and you can't farm. 1. Try to sneak yourself to the other side of the map where the camps are using a solo smoke or some sort of invisibility. 2. Instead of TPing back to base after split pushing, stay in the trees, so that way you can continue farming even if your map becomes closed off. This is probably the better solution because it avoids the problem even happening in the first place. Some ways of identifying what camps are dangerous and what camps aren't are 1. Camps near vision are almost always green because if the enemy team shows up there, you'll very literally see them. 2. Look at where the lane creeps are. If a creep wave is up way past a jungle camp, chances are an adjacent camp to that lane is going to be a green camp because the enemy team will have to kill or walk through the creep wave first before contesting you at your camp. 3. Look at where your team is. If your team is really far away from you, chances are you're in orange or red camp territory. Usually what happens is your team will form a zone where the camps within it are green and the camps on the outskirts of it are orange. 4. Naturally, towers give you protection because your team can TP to them if you're in danger, and they also give vision and then push lane creeps. So camps behind and adjacent to towers are typically pretty safe and usually green. Some ways of knowing if you're an orange or a green camp farmer include 1. If you have lots of mobility, you can probably farm orange camps. 2. If you're hard for the enemy team to kill because you have BKB, levels, you're snowballing, or whatever, then you're probably an orange camp farmer. 3. If your life doesn't really matter that much and your farm doesn't matter either, in other words, if you're an offlaner or a support and someone on your team, usually the carry, really needs some items, then chances are it's your job to farm orange camps in order to make space for them. 4. If your job is to get a specific item timing to win the game and you're the next timing, then you're a green farmer. This isn't necessarily the carry though. If you're an Earthshaker and you desperately need a Blink Dagger to win fights, sometimes your carry should actually farm orange camps even if it results in them dying and you farm the green camps. If you find yourself at an MMR plateau, I would highly recommend watching one of your own replays and trying to identify the times where you farmed camps that you shouldn't have been farming, aka where you are a green camp farmer and you're farming orange camps, where you're trying to farm red camps, etc., etc. I guarantee you this happens much, much more often than people think. And this is one of the most subtle but hugely impactful game-losing mistakes that you can make in Dota. Thanks a lot for watching. Please make sure to subscribe and hit the like button for the YouTube algorithm. I really appreciate you, and I hope to see you in another video.